guys, and welcome to Life Lessons with Lindsay. Today we are talking about motivation and systems, routines that we need to put in place in order to achieve our goals. All right, the reason why I want to talk about motivation first is because we've all felt it, that desire to do something and to work hard. But sometimes we wait for that feeling to happen before we start working. And I just want to clear the air right now. We can't do that. We cannot rely on motivation to get us in gear, to get us moving. It's so unreliable. And for the most part, you really only feel motivation after you start working. All right, so let's first put that in our mind. No waiting for motivation anymore. It's not going to work that way. I want to talk about why motivation is so difficult to feel. All right, so I read this book. It's called Dopamine Nation. And dopamine is responsible for us to feel motivated, for us to want to go and do something and get something. And back in the day, in the, Jurassic Park days, if you were born in the 1900s, right? And even way before then, it was really difficult to get things that you want. I mean, yes, when I was young, we had fast food. But generations before me, it was not super convenient to get fast food. You had to wait, you had to prepare in order to get good food. All right, now, you get the DoorDash and it's like right there at your door. Also, when you were bored, you had to wait for an idea to come in your mind in order for you not to be bored. You couldn't distract yourself with your phones in order to not be bored. We had to suffer through the boredom in order to have an idea of what to do. Also, back in the day, if you wanted to know information about your friends or what was going on, you had to wait till you were at school to find out, because you couldn't just have that instant information right in front of your face, right? And we also had to go to the library to find information. Like this whole easy access on our phones, yeah, it's super nice, super wonderful, but it's ruining our dopamine sensors, all right? Our motivation. That is what's ruining our motivation. Because right now, everything is so easy that our dopamine is like, yes, get the easiest thing as possible. Yes, easy, 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 easy. Because dopamine is fun to feel. And so the things that used to require time and effort, we don't do anymore. Because it's just way easier to scroll on your phone. It's way easier to go get the fast food. It's way easier to send a snap or a message rather than have a face-to-face conversation with somebody. Right? So this ease of life is making it so we don't achieve our goals. And the huge problem with that is that with our convenient life, fast food, we're not actually feeding our bodies healthy things. With easy distractions, we're not actually feeding our souls with hobbies that bring us true joy. With quick and easy access of finding information about people and sending those snaps and things like that, we're not actually feeding healthy relationships. So this quick and easy is not making us any better as human beings. And I'm not saying that we should get rid of it, because it's actually super helpful to look on Google and be like, oh, what's the answer to that? Real quick, real easy. I'm just saying we got to be careful and acknowledge that is part of the reason why we are not getting the things that we truly want. So a couple months ago, I was, reevaluating what I want and new goals. And I was actually doing really well with writing. I was starting to write. I had this time period right before I came home from school that I would write just for a little bit. It was 20 to 30 minutes. And I was very consistent and I was super excited. And then I got sick. And when I get sick, I watch television right? But during this sickness, that first day, I was kind of sick of the shows. And so I started scrolling on YouTube Shorts the whole day. And while I was doing it, I was like, this is brutal. I should get off this. And then I just kept scrolling. Right? I've heard that YouTube Shorts aren't that great anyway, but I don't have TikTok or Instagram, so I don't really know any different. This was like my only like scrolling social media that I actually had access to. And so for 2 days while I was sick, I was doing this, dopamine hit of scrolling. So after I finally got better, I noticed that when I would sit down to write, I didn't have any interest to do so. I was like, man, this is boring. This is actually lame. Do I actually really want this? And I was like, what is wrong with me? I was doing so well. How come I don't find interest in this now? And then it hit me. My dopamine was all screwed up. I messed it all up. All that constant, quick and easy dopamine hits, I was constantly looking for what was easiest to get, and writing, it is definitely not easy. And so I went through a huge period of time where I had to, detox and kind of get rid of that ease of dopamine. And it still is pretty brutal. I'm having a hard time finding a good system, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But I need you to imagine your dopamine as like a volume setting. So you've all had like headphones on, right? And you blasted it and were enjoying the music. And then when you took your headphones out, all of a sudden the world seems a little quiet and a little muffled. And you're just like, wait, what is that? This is what is happening to your dopamine when you are doing the quick and easy hits of scrolling and the fast things. You're putting on those headphones and blasting it, and then expecting life to be vibrant and wonderful without them. And that's not how that works, right? So when you're scrolling, the dopamine hits are just quick and easy coming. And so when we try to do that hobby, try to do that goal, our brain goes, nah, that's way too hard. And it kind of makes you lose interest, right? Our brain and our wiring, it's so insane. So not only are we dealing with the negativity bias that I talked about in the last video of, our brain is searching for the negative things and warning us against it, but we're also now working against this dopamine surge, and we have so many things against us. No wonder it's so hard to do anything. So if we truly want to feed our souls, feed our bodies, feed our healthy relationships, we're gonna have to do something about this, all right? And that, well, I'm a little hesitant to say what I think you should do. We're gonna go into other things you can do, but the dopamine detox is a really good and healthy thing, but I know it scares some of you to get rid of the scrolling, to get rid of the junk food, yikes, right? To get rid of communicating to people through the messages. Right? We've got to try different ways to do that. But I just heard this the other day and it made me sad because I'm like, oh no. It takes 3 to 4 weeks for a detox to actually work. Because if you detox means that you are getting rid of it, that you are stopping it, that you are just saying no, right? Cold turkey, all right? The first 2 to 3 weeks are going to feel brutal. You're gonna be so bored, so miserable, everything's gonna seem so hard, and it's not worth it. It takes 3 to 4 weeks for your brain to go, oh, this is life. This is what I've wanted life to be like. But how many people actually make it to 3 to 4 weeks? Anyway, so that is your number one option to kind of experience life, is to detox. But if that is not your cup of tea, and well, even if it is, you're still gonna need to do this next step, all right? You're gonna need to make your goals as easy as possible in the beginning. And what that means is that you are going to have to understand that working on something for 2 minutes, 2 to 10 minutes is success. And you are going to have to get rid of any friction that gets in the way of you accomplishing this goal, right? So you're gonna have to attach it to a habit you already do, or before a habit you already do, right? So if you walk home from school or from work and go, straight in your chair and whatever, right? Walk into your house and go straight to that activity, and you work on it for 10 minutes, period, done for the day. Make it easy so that the dopamine goes, oh, this isn't as bad as I thought it was. This is relatively quick. I can handle 2 to 10 minutes, no problem. All right, so my friction was driving home from school. So I work 30 minutes away from my home, and that drive makes me so tired. I've tried many different things to make me not tired, and I have yet to find one. If anyone has something out there that will give me a little bit energy while I'm driving, I will, try it. Anyway, so when I went home, I was always too tired to do whatever. I still had to do dinner and all that stuff. I still had to be a mom. But my extra activities, I was just always too tired. And so in that really good month of awesomeness, I would write before I left the school. I would just do, some days it was 10 minutes and other days I got 30 minutes in. Oh, I loved those days. But my goal was just to open my computer and just start a little something. And I was killing it until I got sick and ruined all my dopamine. And then I started in a new schedule of rehearsal and my daughter playing games. So my schedule got ruined. But anyway, so at least for then, I was able to get rid of the friction, and I did it for a small amount of time. And I was like, life is awesome. So now my schedule's all messed up. And I don't have that time right after school to do it. Even though this morning I was like, I do too. I have 10 minutes. I have 10 minutes before my rehearsal starts. I could totally do this. So I'm going to get that back into a habit. I don't need the 45 minutes. I don't need the 30 minutes. I just need 10 minutes. Because in that month or so that I was like, I just don't have time. I could have done it before I went to bed. I could have done it in the morning. But every morning I would say, oh, I'll do it at night. And every night I said, oh, I'll do it in the morning. And so some nights I would fit it in, because those nights I was saying 10 minutes, I'm only doing 10 minutes. Oh, but when you're tired and fatigued, man, it's rough. So I know that I can do it at night. I know that I could do it in the morning. But they're not the easiest thing for me. My easiest way to achieving my goals is that little bit of time right when the bell rings and before I have rehearsal or have to leave to go to a game or anything like that. I can do those 10 minutes. This is what setting up your systems, setting up your routines means. It's about showing up for 2 to 10 minutes, making it the easiest possible so those dopamine hits can be rewired and tell your brain, yeah, this is fine. This is good. We can handle this. All right, we can make this possible, because it's only 10 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever. So we got to rewire our brain. We got to make a system that works for us. And the reason why I call it systems is because some days I'm not writing my book. Sometimes that time is for, creating these YouTube videos. Maybe it's for choreography that I'm working on, right? Those minutes are sacred for something that I want, the goals that I want to achieve, not for mindlessly doing whatever. So find a system for you. Now, if you have ADHD or undiagnosed ADHD, okay, this dopamine is even harder to achieve. So yeah, scrolling on the internet, playing those video games, it's really hard to get those dopamine hits. And so if it's easy, yeah, we're gonna do it. And so with that happening in our brain, we gotta work even harder to make it easy. Okay, I'm not saying work harder on the goal, okay? But work harder at making it easy. All right, so instead of the 10 minutes, shoot for 2 minutes. Okay, the least friction as possible. Do it before your brain can talk you out of it. All right, so again, this whole dopamine problem is for everyone. But if you have ADHD or anything like that that already affects your dopamine, you got to realize that. You got to acknowledge it and ask yourself, who's driving the car? Is the ADHD driving the car? Is my want for dopamine driving the car? Or am I driving the car? Do I know what I want? Am I going to get what I want? Or am I going to allow all of this crap get in the way? And that was a life lesson with Lindsay. All right, guys. What now? What are you going to do? Are you going to do the detox and see how you feel and what happens? Or are you just going to jump into your systems and make something as easy as possible? Good luck.